Okay, Archan,
Yeah, I'm ready.
this is your first slide. This patient came with complaints, is a 50-year-old female who came with complaints of a swelling in the genital region.
Alright, Dr. Samni has already joined. Can you unmute him?
He
Oh.
joined as probably MEPH.
Oh, okay,
Oh, okay. MP. Oh, yes.
MPH.
Okay. Good evening, Sabni sir.
Yeah, hello, how are you?
Hi, Sabnis.
Yeah,
sir.
so let us go ahead.
Thanks for joining.
No, I wanted to see how you are conducting this OSCE because this is something new.
Yeah. So after at the end, you can just give us all the.
Yeah,
We've
sure,
got another 3
Let's go
sessions
ahead.
going on, so then you can guide us.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I'll
Yes,
just tell him,
I've seen
Dr. Sabni, I'll just tell
Yes.
you, we have got to one slide, 5 questions or 6 questions, and we have got to one student, and we try to see that they finish in 5 minutes. And then we discuss.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, so Archan, this is your slide. Now, this is your first question. Spot the diagnosis and give a differential diagnosis.
Okay, my 50-year-old female, my first diagnosis would be a urethral caruncle. Second would be a urethral polyp. Third would be urethral prolapse and also urethritis and skin gland cyst.
Okay. So you will be correcting at the end,
At
right?
the end.
Okay. Specific points I'd like to ask in history. I'd like to ask whether the woman is postmenopausal or not. I would like to ask her complaints, whether she has had any spotting or bleeding, whether she has any dysuria, and what other lower urinary tract symptoms that she has.
Okay. Can you define urethral caruncle?
A urethral caruncle can be defined as a benign soft tissue growth coming out of the urethral mucosa.
What is the main etiology behind the formation of a urethral caruncle?
Caruncle specifically would be decreased estrogen. Would be decreased estrogen in the postmenopausal setting and repeated trauma giving rise to an inflammatory swelling there.
Okay. And what will be the 2 to 3 main chief complaints of this patient?
Chief complaints would be dysuria, bleeding or spotting, as I said, and voiding symptoms. That's all, just 3.
How will you treat this patient?
Initially, I would treat the patient conservatively by giving her NSAIDs. Also, I'd like to give her estrogen cream. Along with that, I'll give her sitz bath. And even if it does not resolve, then I would like to excise the caruncle.
Okay. And what are the microscopic features that you will see?
Microscopic features, a caruncle could be having hyperplasia in the form of either urothelial tissue or glandular tissue. That means it could be in the form of glandular tissue, yes, or transitional epithelium. Either one of them could be there, and there could also be thrombosis and presence of RBCs settled inside the caruncle. That should be
okay. Sir,
let's go ahead. Yeah, as far as the spot the diagnosis and differential diagnosis, I think it was quite. Only thing is urethral diverticulum is one thing, and very rarely you can say that prolapse in urethral. Apart from that, I don't think. I think if you write down this 4 or 5 differential diagnosis, that is more than enough.
Sir, do we need to add in the diagnosis DDCA?
Yeah, sorry, CA.
Michelle,
Yes,
first
CA.
question is differential diagnosis. The list is very long, but as he started, the common is urethral carbuncle, mucosal prolapse, distal urethral malignancies, benign leiomyomas, rhabdomyosarcoma, condyloma. These are the rare things. But as he correctly told, the common things are carbuncle and mucosal prolapse.
Yeah, and CA, always keep the CA in mind.
okay.
So that you have to write down. That is perfect. Then
another question is etiology.
Yes,
so
sir.
you should write specifically in etiology lack of estrogen is not sufficient. So lack of support to the urethral mucosa
Okay, sir.
due to the less estrogen. That should be the correct answer. in postmenopausal period, because it is common in prepubertal as well as postmenopausal, both the condition, that is carbuncle as well as mucosal prolapse is both common in prepubertal as well as postmenopausal.
Okay.
Definition of carbuncle, again, small single cordon. It should come in the definition. It is a small single cordon urethral prolapse, typically affecting the posterior urethral margin.
Okay, sir.
So another question one may ask is how you differentiate between carbuncle and mucosal prolapse.
The prolapse is circumferential, while this is only in one plane, on one quadrant. Carbuncle is only in one quadrant.
Prolapse is circumferential, and it is a carbuncle is affecting only the posterior lip or focal. In histopathology, again you told you must tell hypoplastic urothelial oblique squamous lining with fibrotic or edematous trauma is the classical histopathology in the carbuncle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And in treatment, one may ask if you suspect it is as a mucosal prolapse, then one may ask what is the treatment of mucosal prolapse.
Okay, sir. So one thing in the treatment, whether we should mention, Archan has not said, should we mention cauterization or
yes,
fulguration?
Yes. How will you treat this patient? In this patient, see, the question is like this: how will you treat this patient?
Yes.
If this is a question, then you have to see this slide.
So, so you have to give a treatment as per your diagnosis. If you are considering first as a carbuncle, then treatment of carbuncle. Second, mucosal prolapse, then treatment of mucosal prolapse. Both should you must give. And one may ask what is the treatment of mucosal prolapse? Archan.
Sir, reduction. Sir, reduction. So initially conservative management, and even if it does not go back, reduction, manual reduction, and even if it does not heal by sitz bath and conservative treatment, then you might also excise it. Circumferential excision of the prolapse.
So what that operation is called?
So I don't know the name, sir.
Some myatoplasty?
No, some name is there. Some
Kelly-Burnham operation.
Yes.
What are the complications of excision of mucosal prolapse?
Sir, injury to the urethra, urethral diverticulum formation.
Why diverticulum will form?
So you
are excising the mucosa and anastomoting the mucocutaneous junction. This is the simple operation.
Yes.
Okay. So what are the complications of any anastomosis? It is a mucocutaneous anastomosis.
Cicatrization. So stricture.
Yes, stenosis is one. And recurrence. And if it is more excision, there are great chances of urinary incontinence also.
Okay.
So these all things can be asked in this OSCE as a different question, small question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now again, I'm telling you how will you treat this patient. If this question is asked, then you have to answer pertaining this patient only. And if they ask you how will you treat carbuncle, okay, then you have to say everything. That if it is a small one, you may use medical line of treatment, or you may do cauterization, excision, and in that excision, you have to say most of the time we put even the police catheter. So you have to talk about that. Dr. Sabnis, you like to say something?
No, I think that is
okay.
Sorry, sir.
1 minute.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Sabnis, you like to say something in this?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, so I think the discussion was proper. Somebody said prolapsing urethrocoel. The urethrocoel typically will not prolapse through the meatus. It is urethrocoel by definition will be from the anterior vaginal wall which will prolapse. So urethrocoel you will not say here in this case. If it is coming from the urethral meatus, then whatever diagnosis and discussion was done was absolutely pertaining. Now, Archan was presenting. One thing is there in OSCE, when you answer in OSCE,
yes,
what you have to understand is that there is no way you can ask for some history or some information. Whatever is there, it is provided. You have to answer that. So remember, sometimes we are under impression that OSCE will remain there only for 5 minutes, and then it will change. So you have to make sure that whatever points you want to make, it is all done in 5 minutes. After that, the slide will change, and that is all controlled from the DNP office in Delhi. So you have to ensure that in 5 minutes everything is answered. There is no way that you want to have some more information or something like that. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay, Archan, understood again
Yes,
and
sir.
again. We are
Yeah.
telling all of you the same thing. The slide and questions, everything will go away. Not only that, they will take away your sheet also, answer sheet also. So they will just take it away. Now that is what they are doing. So please, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we
Sir, next slide.
Yes, next.
Archan, this is your next slide. Please see it carefully. Okay.
Just can you go back just 1 second to the first one? Okay.
Okay. Give the complete diagnosis based on what you see in the CT scan.
Okay, I could only spot the horseshoe kidney. Could you go back, please? Just along with the stone in the what looked like the low. Okay.
Yeah, I think answer now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a horseshoe kidney with a stone in the with a stone present in the left pelvis. This which is also dilated and
Yeah. Go ahead.
mal rotated. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Left
Okay.
pelvic
Okay.
calculus mal
That's it.
rotated
Too
in a
much
horseshoe kidney. Yeah,
diagnosis
that's
is
all.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the treatment options? Please enumerate.
First treatment option in this case would be PCNL. Second would be Flexi ORS. Third would be ESWL.
Okay.
And fourth could be laparoscopic pyelolithotomy.
Okay.
Laparoscopic pyelolithotomy, SOS pyeloplasty, depending on this. And that's all I would like to comment.
Okay. State the different congenital abnormalities of the kidney.
In this particular kidney?
No, state.
State of anomaly.
Okay.
4 to 5. Just
Okay.
enumerate.
Okay, horseshoe kidney, ectopic, cross-fuse ectopia, maybe,
Archan, rotation anomaly,
rotation fusion, cross-fuse ectopia, malrotation agenesis, MCDK, cystic disease of kidney. So that would be also for 2 marks.
If the kidney was a pelvic kidney with a 1.5 centimeter calculus in the pelvis,
yes,
how would you treat that patient?
Uh,
Again, only enumerate the treatment options.
1.5 centimeter in pelvis would be RIRS, flexi RIRS, laparoscopic pyelolithotomy, or in pelvis could be PCNL, but depending on where it is, and lab guided puncture could be done.
Okay. And what hypothesis is comes into play for the above anomalies?
There is deterrence of the.
There is only a horseshoe kidney. There is only.
Yes, sir. So there is deterrence of the ascent of the metanephros in the embryonic period during the 4 to 6 weeks. That's all. Because the vasculature in the form of the inferior mesenteric artery comes in the way of the ascent of the metanephros, which are fused.
Okay. Sir, open to introduction,
yes,
sir.
I think the first is a due full diagnosis. So that's what three important points he has said. So that is quite okay. Treatment options.
Sir, can you speak a little loudly? We can't hear you properly.
The treatment, as far as the treatment options are concerned, in this case, what he said was RIRS. That is fair enough because the stone is not very big, and he has talked about PCNL. That is also okay. I think in this case, laparoscopic pyelolithotomy.
Last
third one.
option.
you can say. Now, state of all anomalies of the
No,
kidney.
sir, he
Please,
also said ESWL. Should we mention ESWL
yes,
for a
yes.
hospital?
In this case, see, look at the drainage system. Okay, it is not coming from medial side. In this case, it is little mal rotated. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So yes, and you can see the full. Of course, it is reconstructed, but you can see the whole ureter. So there is not much of the hydronephrosis. So you can always talk about degastanting and ESWL in this case, because otherwise all other modalities are going to be little difficult. Like if you are going to do PCNA in this case. Okay. So if you can say the third or fourth option, no problem. Then the next question. Tanvi. Treat
One
all
question,
anomalies. Yeah.
one question which has been asked by Dr. Jadeja is that is it a partial PUJ on the left side? I personally don't think, but I would ask everybody in all the esteemed panel to give their comments about what is their concept about a partial PUJ, because this term is being mentioned very often in many of the reports, and it perplexes the reader much more than gives any insight into the actual pathology.
So I will answer that. Whenever you see PUJ obstruction, it indicates by PUJ by definition is always a partial intermittent obstruction. So there is nothing like mentioning that partial PUJ obstruction. When you say PUJ obstruction, it is never a total obstruction. It is always partial and it is always intermittent. Intermittent because when there is sometimes the PUJ is very borderline, and when there is an excess load of urine which is there, then it is obstruction. Otherwise, the normal urinary excretion or normal load of urinary output, there is no obstruction. And therefore, by definition, it is a partial intermittent obstruction at the PUJ because of the adynamic segment of the pelviureteric junction. So that's the definition. So if somebody writes in the report that it is a partial, forget about that. But by definition, it is this. Now coming to this question, whether it is appropriate, because Archan also said that laparoscopy, pyelolithotomy, and if required, pyeloplasty. Now there is nothing if required pyeloplasty.
Yes.
That has to be made certain before you answer, before you decide whether it is laparoscopic pyelolithotomy or with pyeloplasty. Now here in this case, in any horseshoe kidney, because the PUJ comes across the isthmus, which in this case is quite a significant big isthmus. It is not just a fibrotic isthmus. If you see the CT scan.
Yes.
So obviously PUJ is going to come, the ureter is going to come anterior to the isthmus, and there is always some amount of hold up at the PUJ which is there, which is a natural in every horseshoe kidney. And therefore, relatively on the left side, there is a pelvis which is dilated. Now the question is that whether there is a PUJ obstruction or not. So that cannot be determined on this X-ray, on the CT scan. It depends on various other factors, what complaint she has got, or that patient has got, what is the DTPA rhinogrammy showing, how is the T-half and drainage and other things. So if you are asked simple question in the OSCE about this, what you need to write is you have written properly that PCNL, RIRS, ESWL. You also have to mention that in ESWL, the preferred option is to put a double chest stent and ensure that there is no significant hold up on one single X-ray. You can't make out this, but in the bracket you can write all these things. So examiner knows that you know what exactly you are writing and you are trying to convey. So this is what I would tell about this question.
So I think that is what we were trying to say, and Sandeep made it very clear. As far as the state all anomalies of the kidney, this question may not be all anomalies, but I think you should preference wise, which is the commonest anomalies, those 4 or 5 you should talk of, rather than like horseshoe kidney, then pelvic kidney, then mal rotated, whatever. So 5, whatever the problem is, these 4, 5, if you can write down.
Better you divide into a developmental anomaly, anomaly of shape and position, anomaly of the rotation, and give one each example.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how will you treat pelvic kidney calculus of 1.5 centimeter in pelvis? I think you have said three, but most important you can say one RIRS. That is one thing. Laparoscopic assisted PCNL or laparoscopic pylolepectomy. Sabnis, what do you think? Anything else?
Yes, I think that's the correct order.
Yeah.
RIR is the first choice, then the PCNL, either laparoscopy guided, ultrasound guided, or lap pylolethotomy. I think this order, what you have said, is absolutely true.
Correct. And in what are the hypotheses of above anomalies? I think in that you should add that the inferior mesenteric artery is developmentally. It is developed before the ascent, and that is why both are retroperitoneal and it develops first, and that is why it stops. That is one of the hypotheses. Anything else, Dr. Sabnis, you think?
Yeah, I think that is right. What he said is correct, that because there is a fusion in the center, there is the kidney does not go up and it is obstructed by the inferior mesenteric artery. If there was no fusion, in the normal process, they would have gone up, and therefore there is a problem. So what he said is right.
So what we have learned is that there are two hypotheses. One is that by fusion, it becomes heavier. That is one thing. And second thing is it fuses, and this fusion is taking place before the inferior mesenteric artery development. And then the ascent is after the forming of the inferior mesenteric artery. So because of this sequence, it is stopped. So if you just write examiner notes that yes.
Yes, correct.
So, Sharma sir, you want to add as a
no sir,
urologist, you know, huh?
No
okay.
sir.
Okay. Achha, Sabnis, do you think anything extra questions can be asked in this?
No, I think these questions are okay. See, what I think they have said in DNB that they will be giving OSCE. Some will be related to some imaging, some will be related to the pathology, some will be ward round, some will be, they will be dividing the 25 questions in different sets. And that is how they will come. Not that necessary every time they will be some X-ray or CT and that will be questions. There will be some clinical scenarios also. There will be some other thing also, which is actually discussed in the rounds or in the, so OSCE is actually an alternative to a case discussion and the ward round, basically ward round.
Okay. So we are also trying all these things as you are saying. So let us go ahead and then see. Huh? Okay.
Thank you, sir. I'll mute myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Tanvi? Tanvi, you are unmuted. Tanvi, you are muted.
Sorry, sir. Pathraj is now with us.
Yes. First, let us say, Pankaj, it was an excellent lecture again. Huh? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, teachers.
Pathraj is from BT Savani. And Pathraj, this is your first slide.
Okay.
This is from a different patient, and this and this is from a different patient. Okay.
Right.
We are keeping both because we don't know what will come to in your exam.
Right, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now we'll go ahead with your questions. Identify the specimen and the surgery that has been done.
Specimen is the kidney, and the surgery which is done is the radical nephrectomy.
Okay.
Kidney with perinephric fat.
Okay. Indications for this surgery, that is radical nephrectomy.
Yes. Renal mass. First thing. Second, xanthogranulomatous pyelonephritis. Two things.
Okay. What type of CT scan would you advise for a patient before you do this surgery?
Contrast CT scan of abdomen and pelvis with IV and oral contrast associated with CT urogram.
Okay. how will you score the tumor? So I'm going to show you again.
Yes.
First, this tumor, can you score it by renal scoring? It has to be done on CT scan. I know that.
Yes.
If you can name the scoring and
Yes.
how it is done.
I would score it with the renal score, nephrometry score. I would take this radius as less than 7 centimeter, probably. So less than 4 centimeters. So it is probably renal score is 1. It is. I would take it as exophytic, most probably. So again, it will be 1. Then this is either anterior or posterior cortical, A or P. And as per the polar line, it is graded, valued, will be valued as 3. It is in the center, near the hilum. And nearness to the calacial, I would again give it a score of 3. It seems near to the pelvic calacial system. So it is 8 A or P for the first. Yeah.
Okay. So the second one, Pathraj, I'll show you if you need some help. This entire thing is a tumor.
That is tumor. I would score probably it as 2. Size is probably score will be 2. It is endophytic, that is 3. Nearness to the calacial system will give us 3. And polar line again, it seems like a central mass, so it will be 3. So it is 11, either A or P.
Okay. Next question. How will you follow up this patient after the surgery?
After surgery, after the patient is discharged, the first follow-up will be at around to 10 to 15 days for the suture removal and overall condition of the patient, and histopathological evaluation, what kind of histopathology that I have. And based upon that, the routine I would advise is to go for physical examination and serum creatinine and urine analysis at 3 months for the first year of life. The first imaging will be at around between 6 months to 1 year. That will be a cross-sectional imaging in the form of CT abdomen pelvis as well as chest X-ray. I will continue the history physical examination and the basic investigation every 6 monthly for the next 5 years, and the cross-sectional imaging once in a year for the next 2 years.
Okay. And lastly, because this may come as a separate table, because research and recent advances is a table. So for that reason, I've just added this question here. Mention the salient results of Carmina trial.
Yes, I would not be able to answer that question. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So,
yes.
I think we can discuss.
Yes, identify the specimen, surgery done. So I think when this is given, identify the specimen. So you must talk about the pathology also. So when you are saying kidney with the tumor inside and the surgery done, because there is a fat and everything in the first radical nephrectomy.
Yes,
indications of this surgery, I think.
Sir, do we need to mention the side, right side or left kidney?
Unless we have the ureter, then only we can comment.
Yeah, you're the ureter.
It is difficult to make out. The specimen can be put anywhere.
Yes, sir. Okay,
so there is no question of side.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Then the indication is okay. What type of CT you will advise? So is a instead of writing all, I think triphasic. What do you say?
Triple phase.
Triple phase.
Okay.
CT, which will because
include
you don't
everything.
It will include it because you don't have so much of time.
Yes, sir.
And it is self-explanatory. And
yeah, I think that is very important. What Gaurang is saying, that you don't have time. When the questions which will be put in such a way that you will be able to answer in 5 minutes. You have only 5 minutes. So if you take some time in one question, then you will be losing on the other. And every question is a marked question.
True, sir.
So time is very important.
Yes, sir. So, should we also mention with lower with chest cuts when we say CT scan? Because
that you can add.
Okay.
Because once you say
actually, what you should write in this particular question, what type of CT you will advise, is that when you are suspecting, now you are obviously discussing about the RCC, correct?
Yes.
So that is what is the question. So when you are suspecting RCC, what you should write down is that I would like to do CT abdomen with oral and IV contrast. The reasons are obvious why you want to give oral and IV contrast.
Yes, sir.
And depending on what is the finding, that subsequent CT chest and other things is all depends on various other findings. Suppose if you have a on the CT scan, if it is stage 3, then obviously you will do CT of the chest. If you have IVC thrombus which is going up, then you have all other sets of investigations which are there.
Correct.
But if you are asked what CT scan you will do for a particular disease, then you should tell that it is a CT IVP with oral and IV contrast. And depending on the size, you can also say that you can write down that if you are suspecting a complex or small tumor, and if you are planning for the partial nephrectomy, then you can take a angiographic plate or try a triple phase oral and IV contrast. That includes CT IVP, everything.
Correct, sir. Okay, so initially we should just say CT scan triple phase with oral and IV contrast.
No, yes, oral and IV, abdomen, full
answer.
abdomen. Yes,
Okay.
abdomen and pelvis, and if required, chest also.
Okay, sir.
That's a correct answer.
Correct, sir. I think scoring, he has scored it correctly.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
uh,
Only thing you should know the different, sometimes they may ask what are the different scores methods you know of.
Yes.
So Padua, renal, so many other
Yes,
things
yes.
are there. So you just have to enumerate.
Yes.
so Pathraj, can you enumerate quickly for the
Renal score, Padua score, C index.
Okay.
These are the three that I know of.
DAP is also there, I think.
Yes, yes, DAP is there.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
So you should remember three. You may not know the details.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you may not know details. Correct.
Now, how will you follow up?
Yeah.
See, in follow up now, you must say that I every 15 days and 1 monthly, and like that I will do the same. Renal function test, ultrasonography, like yearly, CT scan 2 yearly or yearly, like, because
You have to,
two
you
lines
have to
to write
divide the patient in high risk or low risk or intermediate risk.
Yes, sir.
And as per the risk, you have to tell the follow up. That's what I.
Yeah, correct. I think the Parthraj, what you have said, is a little bit vague. In the OSCE or when you are writing some question, the person examiner has to know that you know everything. So general follow-up, you should write that the follow-up consists of two things. One is a general follow-up, in which you will see the suture, you will see the hemoglobin, creatinine, all the things. And the other one is the oncological follow-up. Oncological follow-up, you must write that it will depend on what is the stage of the disease.
Yes.
So pathological stage and grade. Suppose if it is a T3 disease, if the margins are positive, the follow-up will be different. You see, if the lymph nodes are there in the specimen and if they are involved, then the follow-up is going to be different. So first line should be the oncological follow-up will depend on what exactly is the grade and the stage of the disease of a specimen which is removed. So if it is the high grade T3A or some T3 disease, if it is a N1 disease, then you will definitely do CT scan at earliest, maybe at 3 months. Because here what you want to know is that whether there is any local recurrence or not. If it is T2 disease, then yes, definitely you can delay the CT scan for the 6 months or 1 year. And then depending on what is the grade and stage, when you want to see the extra chest, what are the things. So that is how you should write down. You don't have much time, but if you write all these points, then the examiner knows that yes, that is how you are going to follow up.
Got it.
So you understood what Dr. Sabnis is
Yes,
saying?
sir. Got the point, sir.
Now, can you be clear in your mind and can you tell us now?
Yes, sir.
So I'll tell you, this is consider this low risk, consider high risk, and now just enumerate the follow-up for both in 2 to 3 lines.
Okay. So general follow-up and oncological follow-up. General follow-up, I will see the suture lines and review the histology. For the low risk mask, it will be for the first year 3 monthly history physical examination and renal function test, and CT scan of abdomen and pelvis at 9 months to 1 year of 9 months to 1 year of interval. For the high risk, history and physical examination with renal function test every 3 months for the first year, and cross-sectional imaging in the form of CT scan at between 3 to 6 months.
Till 5 years.
Yes.
Like that. You have to say
So it
till
is
5 years.
what you are telling is AUA or EUA?
Sir, EAU, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
European.
European in 2020 it is
Yes,
slightly modified. For
Okay.
low risk, whatever rest of the thing you told is correct. Chest X-ray yearly for 3 years. That is one.
Yes.
Ultrasound 6 months and at 2 years. CT is first year and third year. And
Okay.
after that every 2 yearly.
Okay.
That is for low risk. And for high risk or intermediate risk, 6 monthly CT for 3 years and yearly for 5 years. That is EUA 2020.
Okay, sir.
Then repeat again. Again repeat. Let everyone know it. Whatever Dr.
Repeat it.
Hello.
Yeah,
repeat it again.
Can you repeat it?
Yes, yeah. As sir told that a test for a low risk disease, I think sir told probably USG only.
Chest X-ray yearly for 3 years.
Yes.
Ultrasound at 6 months and at the end of 2 years.
2 years.
CT 1 year and 3 years. And every 2 yearly then.
Okay, sir.
That is for low risk.
Okay.
And for high risk, 6 monthly for 3 years and yearly for 5 years.
Yearly for 5
High
years.
risk or intermediate risk. And
Right.
rest all the things whatever you are told is correct.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
And sir, Carmina trial.
Carmina is a trial, randomized phase 3 trial in which nephrectomy followed by sunitinib is compared with sunitinib alone.
Yes, sir.
And the conclusion is that the nephrectomy with nephrectomy followed by sunitinib is not superior to sunitinib alone. That's what I know.
Yes, sir.
If any change, please let me know.
It is for metastatic disease only.
Yeah.
Can I unmute Archan? He will tell us.
Yes. Tell Arjun.
Archan, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, as I said, it is a multi-center RCT that established the non-inferiority of giving sunitinib as compared to doing a cytoreductive nephrectomy and then giving sunitinib. It was a multi-center European trial that started in 2009. That's all, sir. That's just as sir said. That was.
Result is nephrectomy plus sunitinib was not superior to sunitinib alone.
Yes, sir.
In majority of the subgroup of that trial.
So particularly in poor risk and intermediate risk. That is.
Agreed.
So if someone asks you the question, the simple answer what you have to write down, that Carmina trial was to see whether the cytoreductive nephrectomy is required or not. And with this trial, with the in the metastatic disease, when the tumor is very large, the consensus is against doing cytoreductive nephrectomy because it will not add to the overall survival of the patient. And in fact, if you try to do cytoreductive nephrectomy in a tumor which is adherent and so on everywhere, that morbidity and mortality is added. So that is actually against the doing cytoreductive nephrectomy. The crux of the matter is that Carmina trial gives tells that cytoreductive nephrectomy in a metastatic multiple metastasis high risk cases, the cytoreductive nephrectomy is not required. It is equivalent to directly starting sunitinib or TKI, whatever TKI you prefer.
Yes, sir.
So can you just tell me in 2 lines? Tanvi, you can say all. He can say.
Artraj, say.
Yeah.
Whatever Dr. Sabnis and Dr. Gite has said, just tell us in 2 lines.
Yes, sir.
Important features, only important things will be said.
So Carmina trial gave the conclusion that the tyrosine kinase inhibitors are not inferior to the cytoreductive nephrectomy followed by tyrosine kinase inhibitors in the intermediate and high risk metastatic renal RCCs, metastatic clear cell RCCs.
Yes, but and you also have to know that what are the exceptions to this is that if there are too many local symptoms, if there is an intractable hematuria, These are all exceptions for the cytoreductive nephrectomy. In those cases, you have to do it, go ahead and do cytoreductive. So
it
this
will
is
be a
only
palliative
for
nephrectomy.
asymptomatic metastatic multiple metastatic tumor. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that question also may be asked. Yes. What is the contrary of Carmen at the same Carmen?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
So just remember this.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Okay. Should I go to the next slide, sir?
Yeah, please.
Pathraj, this is your next slide.
Okay.
Okay.
See properly, huh?
Yes, sir.
So name the entire assembly that is being used and the surgery.
So this is the 26 French continuous flow non-rotating inglacious 26 French non-rotating continuous inglacious type resectoscope with active working element.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Can we go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Name all the instruments / gadgets that are being used in the above assembly. Enumerate.
Yes. Outer sheath 26 French, inner sheath 24 French. The resectoscope, which is seems to be the active one. I'm seeing the inlet TUA set, the outlet tubing, the cautery wire, which is probably the monopolar one, and the light cable and the camera head.
Okay. What are the advantages of single loop over double loop working element? Just enumerate 3 to 4 for 2 marks.
Single loop over double loop.
Actually, it's my mistake. I meant to say single stem over doubles.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Single stem
over double stem working element.
I'm not sure about the answer, but probably the double stem provides more stability to the loop while resecting the gland.
Something to do with the cautery, how the current flows.
That depends upon the whether what kind of system we are using, monopolar or the bipolar. Bipolar, in some of the systems there are double stem.
No,
in which the other stem...
when you are asked about this, this
yes,
is not a bipolar. You know this.
Yes, sir.
Instrument what is shown here.
It is not bipolar. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then it is only for this what he is asking.
So yeah. I'm not sure about this.
The advantages are it is easy to number one. It is easy to insert. Single loop is easy to insert. Okay. If you have a double loop, now you realize you put one and then you try to put another. The first one will come out because they are not at the same level.
Yes.
Number one.
Yes.
Second advantage is, as you are saying, that the double is more steady. No, single one.
That last time that single is more steady, sir.
More steady. Third thing is, you see the cautery wire. It is attached from above, while in double stem it is coming from behind, so it is little difficult to put.
Okay.
This is where the double stem comes.
You have to close it and then put it, no, the wire.
Yes.
Where it is attached on top, so that water getting wet and all the current.
Yes, it does not come in the way of thumb.
So the leakage of current is not there. Even the leakage of water, when the instrument becomes little old, there is a leakage of water continuous.
Yes,
okay, so that is also not there. And even to the damage to the loop is less frequent in single loop. So these are the 5 important points.
Yes,
so you should just say that this is the new generation of the loops. Basically, it has evolved now.
Yes,
so,
yes.
The last and the most important thing which I have faced is that loop, the double stem loop. Now, after some time, it just comes out. You are doing a resection and it will come out from the.
Keep inserting it again and again.
Okay. Okay.
Also, sir, this was discussed in great detail in our instruments lecture.
Yeah.
So we can just, it's recorded.
Yeah, I'll go through it.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
what are the irrigation fluids that can be used for this procedure?
Just name it.
But yes, sir. Glycine 1.5%.
For
for monopolar TURP for this procedure which is going on. It can be a normal saline for bipolar TURP. It can be mannitol, 20% mannitol, which are the commonly used irrigation fluids.
Water.
Sterile water.
Sterile water is there, D5 is there, then cetal solution is there. There are many other solutions.
When they ask irrigation fluids, just name them.
Okay, sir.
Name the procedures in which the above system can be used. The different procedures for which this system can be used.
Transurethral resection of prostate, transurethral incision of prostate or bladder neck incision, transurethral resection of bladder tumor, then ureteromeatotomy. These are the procedures.
Okay. And name the light source that is used. Or for that matter, in all
you can
these
say all.
Yes, xenon light, cold LED light. These are the two commonly used light sources.
Okay. Sir,
yeah.
Name the procedures.
Name the assembly. I think it was quite okay. All gadgets also, but he has forgotten about the telescope.
Oh, yes. It will be a 30-degree 4 mm telescope.
Yeah. Then advantages we discussed. Irrigation fluids. Now it can be asked in a two different ways. Irrigation fluids use. Okay. Not only in this case, but otherwise which are used. So in that case, you have to say about for a saline for VIU. Okay.
Yes,
saline
sir.
for bipolar.
Bipolar.
And then whatever you said. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Name the procedure for which above system is used. One is a clot. What you have forgotten is a clot.
Clot.
Sometimes there is a too much clot and you are not able to remove it. You can use this. And plus for the fulguration, whenever there is a severe ascites and patient is bleeding.
Yes, sir.
So you use it for the fulguration also.
And someone has written Tured also, sir. That I also forgot. Tured.
Yeah. Correct.
And so uretrocele and endopilotomy is also written.
Yeah. Ureteromeatotomy, uretrocele incisions.
Endopilotomy, yes, you can, but
integrate.
Yes. Our question is name the procedures for which above system is used. So in that, endopilotomy also will come. But endopilotomy, yes, that will also come. Dr. Sabnis, you want to add something?
No, I think what he has written is correct. Yeah. So the irrigation fluid, what you were saying, is when it is, it is monopolar. So don't mention saline when you are discussing for the TURP.
Yes,
now,
sir.
the order in which you should say is that glycine and the water, they are the most common thing. Other than cetal, D5, mannitol, urea, all these things are there in the theory, but they are not practically used.
Yes, sir.
So in a monopolar, what fluid you will use is glycine and water.
Or water.
And then, enumerate other things.
So
another more
one, I think what Sabnis sir is trying to tell you is very specific. Be specific to this instrument. Don't start talking about everything. You don't have that much time.
Yes, sir.
If same instrument is kept in exam as OSCE, the another common question is difference between the active and passive working element.
Yes, sir. Pathraj, can you
pros and cons of active and passive working element?
Active working element is the finger operated element working element. Passive is the thumb operated working element. Active working element cuts.
Names.
Sorry, sir.
Names of both active.
Yes, active is the Nesbit. The passive is the bum rocker, sir.
The other way around. Is it the other way around?
Okay, sir.
Active is Baumricker and passive is Nesbit.
Passive is Nesbit. Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Pros and cons of both.
Yes. Active, the first to go with the active, the advantages are it is supposedly it will be faster, so resection time should be less. The disadvantage is that it is continuously outside, so we have to keep in mind to keep it closed while inserting it. It can also be it is less preferred for the VIU, and the cutting is while the active movement of the loop. So the chances of deep cutting or a capsular injury is higher. while in the passive, the advantage is that the cutting is through the passive, the spring recoil action. So the cutting is more controlled, and the disadvantage is only against that it is slightly slower than the active one, sir.
Okay, sir. Is that
I
right,
think
sir?
enough. Yes. Any other question we can think of, Dr. Sabnis?
Yeah, I think this was okay. All the questions are more or less covered.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, Patraj. You answered well. Can you mute yourself?
Thank you, teachers. Yeah.
Now we have Paras. He's from Jaslo. Paras.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening, teachers.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Paras.
Paras, to the point, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
This is your slide.
If all of you have attended today's MUS meeting, you will come to know what it is.
Yes, sir.
Sir, Rahul is his co-resident, the person who
Yes, yes.
presented it. Okay. Identify the procedure.
This is the procedure sacral neuromodulation.
Okay. Indications of the above procedure.
Indication of the above procedure is overactive bladder, neurological bladders, and in cases of urinary incontinence, fecal incontinence, pelvic pain syndromes, interstitial cystitis.
Okay. Enumerate any alternative procedures to this one for all the above indications that you mentioned.
Any bladder related? We are concerned with only bladder.
Tibial nerve stimulation, peripheral tibial nerve stimulation, and direct stimulation of the bladders. It's a PTN and TIN procedure, posterior tibial nerve stimulation.
Okay. What is the principle of the above procedure on the basis on which it works?
A principle of the above procedure is the stimulation of S3 particular nerve, which causes differential actions in the different. Suppose if we use for overactive bladder, with the stimulation of S3, it inhibit the more active C fibers and let the alpha fiber to work. And in cases of underactive bladders, it let off the guardian reflex so that patient be able to pass urine itself. Basically, it is interneuronal inhibition. It modulates the our intact neurological pathway.
Okay. Under which anesthesia is this procedure done? And give a simple reason in 2 lines.
This procedure should be done under local anesthesia, as patient has to follow verbal commands for the reflexes to be appropriate. In cases of general anesthesia, these reflexes will be not noted.
Then why not in spinal?
Sir, reflexes are lost, sir, in cases of spinal too, sir.
So you have to answer. No, you are talking only of general anesthesia.
Yes, sir. Sir, it is done under local anesthesia.
Why it is done under local anesthesia? Number one, so that he can obey your command, verbal command, and second,
the reflexes are not.
The reflexes are not should
yes,
be intact, no? When you are doing it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now identify the procedure. I think it's fine. Indications of above procedure you did very nicely. Enumerate alternate procedures. Now I don't know whether this question is only pertaining to sacral modulation or enumerate alternate procedures. Means, for example, you have got 3 conditions: neurogenic bladder, incontinence, and you have got overactive bladder. So for the neurogenic bladder, what you like to do? Then overactive bladder, what are the other procedures? And for third thing is incontinence. So I think these three. Can you tell us?
Paras, can you just enumerate for each of the conditions any alternative procedures that you know?
So alternative procedure in cases of overactive bladder can be the medical and Botox therapy. Medical therapy in the form of anticholinergic drugs and the more invasive like Botox therapy. And other procedure in case of hypoactive bladder is the CIC, clean intermittent catheterization. And sir, and urinary diversion in the form of SPC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think other things you see. Yes, Gite sir, Sabnis, you want to?
Yeah, more or less it is okay.
Huh.
Overactive bladder, you also have to mention it is the medical management. The procedures will come hydrodistension,
Hydrodetention is the most important, I think. Because before Botox, it
intravesical
will come.
instillation. Yeah, before Botox, hydrodistension, intravesical instillation of various medications, and then subsequently Botox.
Yeah.
What are the problem encountered with chakral neuromodulation?
Sir, there are various problems. First is the placement of the needle. If it is too deep, it lead the activation of S4 nerve, which lead to the other activation of the S4 nerve, like the sensory problems. And if it is too shallow and not stimulate the S3, then it will hit the S2 and the sensory response to the legs. Then, sir, other problems are including the malposition of the leads, then the non-working of the lead, formation of and bladder fluid in cases of blood and fluid lead to the dispersion of the current. Then it can also lead to the infection, seroma formation, erosion, and malfunctioning of the instrument. Yes.
So whatever you are told, along with that, pain at the chronic pain at the neurostimulator site, infection you have missed, and transient electrical shock that may happen.
Yes.
With chakral neuromodulation.
Okay, sir.
You have forgotten too. Infection is a whenever there is a foreign body infection is the first thing you must say. Huh? Any
Yes,
implant, any implant. Hmm? Okay. I think we should go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paras.
Yes,
Please
thank you,
mute
Paras.
yourself. Now we have Akshay. He's from Dinanath Mangeshkar.
Yes, Akshay, can you hear us?
1 minute, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, all teachers.
Yes, Akshay.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Akshay, this is the slide. Okay.
Okay.
Name the procedure and what is your diagnosis?
Actually, ureteric catheter in situ, and it was a pus discharge and turbid urine discharge from the ureteric catheter. And the diagnosis will be infected, probably infected hydronephrosis. It can be pyonephrosis also, or this will be my differentials for this. Basically.
Okay. How will a
I don't have any detail there.
Okay. How will a patient with this kind of a situation present clinically? Enumerate.
Clinically, yeah. If it is an infected hydronephrosis, the patient will present with fever, chills, flank pain. Also, if the patient presents late, he can also present with hypotension shock and sepsis.
Okay. Now in this patient, now that you are seeing pus coming from the ureteric catheter, now what will you do? How will you proceed?
Actually,
you are the operating surgeon.
I'll
You have
just
seen this.
looking at the picture and the information given to me, I'll just de-obstruct the system in the form of DJ stent or PCN. PCN that I will decide on imaging and or overall clinical condition of the patient, and on ultrasound whether there is debris or not, and that will be my deciding factor.
Okay.
Be specific.
Sir, should we mention culture sensitivity also at this?
Yes, you have to. Let him finish. We'll go step by step.
Yeah, sorry. Which investigations will you advise for the management now? Now, what will you do?
Yeah, I'll advise. I'll send this fluid for culture, and apart from routine lab investigation, CBC, renal function test, and electrolytes. And if the patient is not clinically stable, I may also advise ABG and ultrasound, if not previously done, on CT. If creat is normal, then CT IVO.
Okay. And name the organisms that are responsible for this condition.
Most commonly, these are gram negative, that is E. coli. Then others are Klebsiella, Proteus. It can also be Pseudomonas, and rarely it can be anaerobic like bacteroids and Enterobacter.
Okay. Sir?
Yes. See, name the surgery and what is the diagnosis. So, surgery, of course, you said it is a right ureter in situ, and the diagnosis. Uh, when such a thick pus is there, will you say it is infected hydronephrosis? If it is an infected hydronephrosis thick pus, I think it is a pyonephrosis. So I think in this case, we better to say it is a case of pyonephrosis. What is the difference between infected hydronephrosis and pyonephrosis?
Sir, infected hydronephrosis is nothing but bacterial infection in a case of hydronephrosis, and pyonephrosis is nothing but it is a bacterial infection in a case of hydronephrosis associated with parenchymal damage, parenchymal invasion of the bacteria, and parenchymal necrosis leading to pyonephrosis.
Correct. But when such a thick pus comes,
therefore I said DD, sir. There.
Okay. Clinical presentation of a patient. Now
Sir,
patient is already
what about
taken. Yeah, tell us.
So pyelonephritis, can we say as a DD? Emphysematous pyelonephritis or something?
That is only infection of the parenchyma. When there is infection of the pelvic alveolar system, it will be pyonephrosis.
So we cannot put that as DD, right, sir?
No.
See, when you are given this sort of a picture,
yes, sir.
The what you should write down is the pyonephrosis.
Okay.
Infected hydronephrosis means what? It is the hydronephrotic kidney, and you have put a ureteric catheter. There is some sort of a turbid urine.
Correct.
So actually, it is a stage.
Correct.
Initially, there may be just hydronephrosis with clear urine, some sort of infection. It will become turbid, and then when it gets converted completely into a frank pus, then it becomes a pyonephrosis. If you have shown the picture that it is a pyonephrosis, then it is a pyonephrosis. Now, pyonephrosis, so when you are actually asked what investigations you will do, the one line which you have to mention is that pyonephrosis is not a primary thing. Pyonephrosis because of something.
Yes.
Either there is a stone, there is a PUJ obstruction, or there is a secondary PUJ obstruction, or tuberculous stricture, or something is there, and that has caused the pyonephrosis. So when you are asked to investigate, apart from the investigations, you have to tell that investigations to find out the cause of pyonephrosis. Yeah. That is one thing. And the other investigation is to find out if this kidney is functioning or not.
That is both. You know,
so there are two ways to investigate when you get pyonephrosis.
Yeah.
One is what is the cause, and one is what is the function.
Yes.
Okay, sir. So I think we missed out the functional.
No, yeah. So clinical presentation of patient, don't see if this patient he can come with the fever with the see he's already on the table. If he's already on the table, okay, that means at present he's not in a shock. You understood? You are not given this that this is a pus in the kidney. The clinical presentation of this patient, you are not given enough of time. You understood? So this patient is on the table. So you must say that he may come with a swelling, chills, fever, pain in the lumbar region, okay, and maybe in a shock. How will you proceed? So you said very rightly, two sentence, DJ stenting or PCM.
Okay.
Because then you will have some time, like as Dr. Sabri said, which investigations will you advise for further management? See, you have already taken patient on the table. Will you take the patient on the table without ultrasonography?
No, sir.
Then you must have done some investigation. No?
Correct.
So important investigation. Now what you will do is a culture, the most important. So you will take a culture. That is the most important thing. And then, as Dr. Sabri said very rightly, to find out the cause and whether it is functioning kidney or non-functioning kidney. So you can say about CT scan and followed by, I think, DTPA.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Correct. And name the organisms, I think you have said quite right. So yes. Dr. Maheshwari is there?
Yes. I hope he's not.
He has unmuted himself. Just
he was 1 minute, sir.
Because Maheshwari is.
He got muted. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, I'm there.
Please, yes, now this is the thing you can explain or you can ask further questions when such a case comes.
Maheshwari sir?
Yes.
So do you have any more questions that you think can be asked?
Nothing more to add. Nothing more to add, Tanvi.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. I think then Tanvi, you should go ahead.
So today we have only 6 slides because we had the MUS meet. So it's already 10:15. So we can call it a day.
Yes. But next time it will not be 1 hour, huh?
No, sir. It will
And
be
next time, all of you have to write down to Dr. Sabnis that he is going to come.
No, definitely, definitely, no
Yes,
problem.
yes.
I think what they need now, now the exam is very near. It is the 3rd September. Everybody is going to appear for the exam.
Yeah.
The details they have not yet sent, but it will be combination of the OSCE as well as the Viva. So that you must know that OSCE is about for 200 marks, 25 stations, 5 minutes each, and 8 marks per question per OSCE question. So that consists of 200 marks. And the Viva will be another thing where they have mentioned that they will be, if possible, one live patient. And if it is not possible, then it is on the PowerPoint, how we conduct a mock exam. And the tables will be like as usual, instruments and operative and other things. So basically the OSCE which they are going to put it is the way in which it will be replacement for the ward round and the case discussion.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Fine. So we will try to put so many different things. And
Yes.
one time I want to take their exams. Like we will,
correct.
One day we will keep all the different 25 slides, no discussion, nothing. We will just keep it for 5 minutes, let all of them answer.
Correct.
Huh?
I think that will be a good training for them.
Also, sir, many students are requesting that now every time before the session, if we can just run the PPT 20 to 25 minutes prior,
okay.
All the students will see the slides and maybe write their own answers, so that when the discussion happens,
we join them,
Right.
and then after that we join. I think that's also a good suggestion.
Yeah, that also is good idea.
Yes.
So
we
maybe
can ask some input from Sabnis sir also for the OSCE more tables if you want to include next time.
No, what you have to include apart from the pictures, you also have to give some clinical scenario. In the sense that the patient comes with right side flank pain with vomiting for 5 days of duration. How will you proceed? Like that, there will be some clinical scenarios which will be there. They will be there because they are going to give more stress on the clinical scenario.
Correct.
Yeah. So we earlier OSCE we had
some scenarios for the next one.
Correct.
So we'll keep adding. We'll just having a
we'll keep on adding. Correct.
Good, very good.
Pankaj bhai, you have got any suggestion?
I think, sir, this thought of letting them answer initially is a very good thought.
Very good thought. No?
Everybody gets prepared. Everybody gets a practice.
Correct.
And even the student is more ready to give the answers properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think so. Then we'll go ahead.
Yes, sir.
No
So
problem.
from next week we'll keep. I'll start it at 8:30.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we will join at 9 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
No
That's
problem.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you all the
you.
tutors.
Good evening.
You so much.
Thank you, sir.
Tanvi, I must say you are not looking like a student. You are looking like an examiner.
She's getting.
You are like. So I was a little bit surprised.
Tanvi, that you need to start practicing to be a student.
I should stop making the PPT. Now I'm going to tell Arjun to do it. He can become the professor now.
I was telling Gaurang Shah sir 2 days back only that Tanvi has now got ready with all the slides and everything. She is able to conduct it now.
See, Sabnis, since last 3 months we are doing all these things. Huh?
Good, very good.
So,
Very good.
So let's continue this. Huh?
Yeah, no problem. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Hello. Bye. Okay. Bye.